All right, let's get into Bryce Gelman here. Quick 20 or so minute video about the Yankees. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's safe to say that the Yankees are back. I think it's safe to say that the Yankees have returned to the upper echelon of teams in Major League Baseball, specifically in the American League, and they have a reasonable chance to advance the World Series and potentially win a World Series for the first time in 15 seasons. I'm going to say it. I'm going to come right out and say it. I'm not going to waste any of your time. I'm going to say it right now to 0 people on the live stream. So, Bryce Gelman, as I said here, going to be talking about Yankees, going to be talking about Aaron Judge's historic season and now what teams have resorted to doing every time he steps up to the plate, which is entirely reasonable considering the stats, considering what you could see with the naked, untrained eye. This is the greatest baseball hitter since Barry Bonds, probably the greatest hitter ever off of steroids. Maybe going back to Babe Ruth. I mean, the level of talent that we are seeing, just the eye for I mean, here's the thing. It's one thing to be as good at drawing walks as Juan Soto or a Judge. It's another thing to bring the power the way Judge does. The way that he is still able to hit 480-foot moonshots like it's 2017 is just unbelievable to me. And I'm sure most of the other people out there, this guy is the best of the best. We have not seen this ever. We really haven't. And on the list of the greatest Yankees in history, he is just inching higher and higher up on that list. And it's unfortunate that he came into the sport. He got called up to Major League Baseball as late as he did at 25, 26 years old. And now he's 32 years old. He reasonably has another 3 to 4 years at the top of his game, maybe even 1 or 2. But he is still such a force to be reckoned with. And finally, it's insane it took this long. Other teams are smarting up and finally walking the guy and intentionally walking him any chance they get, because you really can't make any pitch to Aaron Judge and know for sure if he isn't going to take it over the fence. I mean, just listen to these stats, and I'm just gonna start with Judge here, and then later on we're gonna get into the rest of the team, which has all come together at the best possible time, just as fast as they imploded. They've all come back together. Well, at least the hitting. I can't really say the same for the pitching, but the last 15 days, this guy, Aaron Judge, 1.481 OPS, 1.41481 OPS. These stats have not been seen since Barry Bonds. He is just constantly topping himself. Like, there is just no one in sports right now, I think, when you look across the board, that dominates his profession as much as Aaron Judge does. You can even look to the Olympics. Like, Katie Ledecky is that number one person. Aaron Judge is number 2 in terms of domination within their respective sport. Aaron Judge, man, I mean, like, where would this team be without Aaron Judge? You pull him out of the Yankees lineup. I mean, of course, you look at the WAR. I mean, you know for a fact. But if you take Aaron Judge out of this lineup, not looking at stats, not looking at WAR, this Yankees team has 6 or 7 less wins. They probably have less. They probably have 10 to 15 less wins, considering the fact of just the impact that he has on the rest of the lineup. And we're finally starting to see the rest of the lineup pick it back up, pick up the scraps. I mean, it's very easy when the top of your lineup consists of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. You are reasonably going to get a lot more pitches to hit than you would if both those guys weren't in the lineup. And now we're starting to see it with the rest of those guys. Soto with a 1.238 OPS. Jazz, 1.064 OPS. And these are all stats over the last 15 days. Wells, 1.023. And Volpe, 1.019. That's 5 guys over the last 5 days for the New York Yankees with OPS over 1,000. Like, what more could you expect from this lineup? And Austin Wells, man, I mean, what more could you say about that guy over this last 40 games with an over 900 OPS? Thank the Lord this guy has emerged in the way that he has emerged. Imagine if the Yankees had to continue to trot out Jose Trevino on a day-to-day basis, how screwed they would be. Oh, sure, he could frame. He's one of the best framers in Major League Baseball. Can he throw me out at second base? I don't think so. And I probably run a 6 40-yard dash. Austin Wells has really saved this Yankees team. When you look at it, he's the third most valuable guy on the roster right now over the last 40 days, the last 40 games, however long it's been since Wells has picked it back up. I don't want to hear Holmes. I don't want to hear Garrett. I mean, of course you need these guys to perform, but look at the backup option behind Wells in Trevino. Wells just hits and he hits and he hits. If he is able to keep this up, I mean, first off, he's objectively been the best catcher in baseball over these last 40 games or whatever it is. Again, since he started picking it back up, the Yankees would be screwed without him, almost as screwed as they'd be without Aaron Judge. And even got a guy like Gleyber Torres, the bum, the laziest guy in Major League Baseball with an 824 OPS over these last 15 days. Are they back? Ladies and gentlemen, are they back? I did a live stream last week, right at the trade deadline. They had gotten Chisholm. They had gotten Enyel De Los Santos. They had gotten Jazz Chisholm. Did I just say that? Mark Leiter Jr. And I said, I'm not too upset with these acquisitions, considering where the market was at. And of course, Brian Cashman spoke and said that this wasn't, you couldn't have had a better time to be a seller and whatever. And I understand that. I don't know why I'm mocking him, because I actually agree with him for once. It's just frustrating to hear any words that come out of the guy's mouth, because it's usually, it lacks meaning a lot of the time. It's usually a lot of garbage. But he was true in that sense. When you look up and when you see what a lot of teams gave up for the top tier pitching guys on the market, besides what the Dodgers gave up for Jack Flaherty, which I think the Yankees could have matched, they had mentioned they saw the injections that Jack Flaherty had gotten for his back were a little concerning for them. They didn't want to match what the Dodgers eventually gave the Tigers for Jack Flaherty, and they of course referred to what happened in 2022 with Frankie Montas, of course, barely pitching for the Yankees before going on the IL for the rest of the season, missing most of the season in 2023, and then returning to pitch to really not much success. I understand that. I understand the need to be frugal with your prospects when you see a player who shows, who clearly your medical staff has seen some issues with. I get it, okay? I understand. I still think they could have matched what the Dodgers gave them and really not felt it in their farm system. And at the end of the day, if he doesn't meet expectations, if his back gives out again, then you deal with the consequences, and it is what it is. But at least you could say that you went all in. Did the Yankees go all in the trade deadline? No, they did not. They did not. Do I think they needed to go all in at the trade deadline? No, I don't think they did at all. When you look at the two guys that they acquired here last week in free agency, and especially in the bullpen. I mean, we just mentioned how good Jazz Chisholm's been over his last 15 days. The Yankees have been really good since they acquired Jazz Chisholm, 7-1. When you look at the two guys that the Yankees acquired, specifically Mark Leiter Jr., of course, the nephew of Al Leiter, former Yankee. You get two guys with strikeout, with the ability to strike people out. I mean, when you look at Clay Holmes, I mean, it's just like one of the most frustrating things now in I think a lot of our sports fandoms, especially obviously if you are a Yankee fan, is trotting Clay Holmes out there, especially when there's 4 or 5 outs needed to be had. When you need a strikeout, when there's guys on base, Clay Holmes cannot get strikeouts to save his life. He can't. He just can't. Is that really someone you could trust as your closer? I don't think so. The Yankees are going to continue to stand behind Clay Holmes and say, this is our guy, and understood, right? He's had success as the closer in the past. But when his sinker isn't coming out of his hand, when it isn't jumping out of his hand at 99, 100 miles per hour, it is very hard for Clay Holmes to consistently get outs. And again, even when it is at 99 or 100 miles per hour, he barely strikes anyone out. It's frustrating they didn't go out and get a closer like Jorge Lopez. They didn't get him. They didn't want to go out and get anyone else on the market because they looked at the market, and again, they said it was a seller's market. They would have had to give up a couple of top prospects for one of the best closers on the market. Do I think that's worth it? Absolutely not. Do I think it's also worth it to continue to trot out Clay Holmes and say that this is our guy? No, absolutely not. I think there are a few guys in the roster that could step into the role. It's hard. It's tough when you look at the closer position. And of course, all of us grew up on Mariano Rivera. We are all very familiar with the greatness of the best closer in Major League Baseball history. And of course, we all have high expectations for whoever closer is going to step into that role. Clay Holmes has filled it relatively well. But there have been times when there isn't one player on the roster who's more infuriating to watch than Clay Holmes. And yes, I'm saying that over Gleyber Torres, who is one of the most frustrating people to watch in every sport that I root for, even more than Daniel Jones with all of his injuries. Speaking of Daniel Jones, I want to get into that a little bit later with what happened at the joint practice between the Lions and the Giants. If you're just joining now, I'm Bryce Gelman talking about this resurgent Yankee season. Something that I did not think would happen, considering what we saw in 2022, where they actually made more deadline acquisitions than they did this year, and they still fell flat on their faces, even after the deadline. One thing that I look at that concerns me, of course, is the fact that over the last 15 days, the Yankees are 20th in Major League Baseball with a 4.86 ERA, nearly a 5 ERA. They're allowing 5 runs, or 4.66. It's still 20th in Major League Baseball, but they're allowing 5 runs a game in their last 8 games, where they're 7-1. The offense is carrying the New York Yankees right now. The reason why I'm saying that I think the Yankees are back is I think those numbers will return back to the mean. When you consider the 2 guys they acquired for the bullpen, the one thing I'm most concerned about is the fact that they only have one lefty in Tim Hill in the bullpen. And maybe the Yankees, when Clark Schmidt returns, decide to put Nestor Cortez in the bullpen. That might be a smart decision. We'll see how he would fare coming out of the bullpen instead of starting. He's been objectively average. Clark Schmidt was really good before he went down with this lat strain on May 30th. They said he'd be out 4 to 6 weeks. It's been 8 weeks, probably 9, or maybe 10. Nothing on him. And maybe I missed it. The last time I checked last week, there was nothing. It was reported that he was going to be throwing a bullpen or whatever, 20 pitches. I don't know if that ever happened. I have no idea if he's scheduled a rehab start. As of last week, there has been nothing on Clark Schmidt. So again, that remains to be seen. But then you look at the situation with whatever happens, whatever's going to happen with Anthony Rizzo when he comes back. Ben Rice has been average, objectively average. He came up, had that 3-home run game against the Red Sox not so long ago. Everyone thought that, this kid's the next first baseman for the New York Yankees. He's Greg Bird, but Greg Bird, before he fell off, reincarnated. And I looked at Greg Bird. I looked at Tyler Austin. I looked at a bunch of other players. Maybe you could include Miguel Andujar, Clint Frazier into that conversation. And I said, okay, fine. Ben Rice, great player thus far. Do you really expect him to continue this? Do you really? And did he? Nope. He's now got an under 715 OPS. I mean, he's had a better last 2 weeks. Everyone in the Yankees is hitting more. The Yankees could be back when DJ LeMahieu is hitting walk-off base hits. That's when something might be up. Something might be brewing. The fact that DJ LeGroundout is getting into the mix. So this is an encouraging time to be a Yankees fan. I think after so many letdowns in the past from this organization, it is hard for someone like me and for someone like you, if you're out there listening to this, and thank you, of course, to the 7 people listening to this live, to go out and say the Yankees are in a good position to win. Because what had they done over the last 15 years consistently? Lose when it matters most. And I don't want to come out here and listen, I'm going to sing the praises of Aaron Judge because he's just that good. Will it translate to the postseason? Will he be able to snap out of one of the most frustrating slumps that we have seen in these last 15 years? I mean, there have been a lot of guys who struggled in the postseason. Aaron Judge is, considering the magnitude of his performance in the regular season, considering the 62 home runs, considering the fact that he's got 41 on August 5th, it has been just devastating to watch him flail time and time again, specifically after the Astros. He has one statistically solid playoffs, and that's 2018. Yes, he was solid somewhat, you could say. He had some big hits in 2017, but other than that, 2017, 2018 doesn't matter. It's been 6 years, 7 seasons since Aaron Judge put together a good postseason. So I'm going to sing his praises again. But enough with saying that Aaron Judge is going to be the player that is going to carry the Yankees into the promised land. Until I see it, I cannot, within my own right mind, say that it will happen. It's the same story with Julius Randle and the New York Knicks. How good has Julius Randle been in the regular season? 2 All-NBA selections, 2 All-Star selections. And what has he done in the playoffs? Absolutely nothing. He's been terrible. Aaron Judge is of the same mold. So there is just like 1 or 2 most important things behind this team, behind this organization, behind the lineup, and that's 1 or 2. I'd say it's 1 probably. And of course, what is going to happen with the starting rotation, if Clark Schmidt's going to come back, if Jason Dominguez is going to slot in and go back to his form that he was at when he was called up last year. You know, when he hit those big home runs against the Astros in some meaningless games. Will the Yankees have someone who steps up, specifically at the bottom of the lineup, with the clutch gene? Is Austin Wells a clutch baseball player? Will Juan Soto be able to continue his clutch play with the Yankees? Or is there some hex, is there some curse over the organization that will stay with them forever after they won in 2009? Who knows? All this remains to be seen. But as of right now, you could confidently say the Yankees are back, especially if the pitching returns back to where we expect it to be. 5 runs a game. Over these last 8 games, the Yankees are 7-1. Pretty good. Pretty damn good. Pretty good. The Giants of the same mold. They're fighting. They played the Lions in this joint scrimmage. They had not 1 but 2 fights. Actually, maybe a 3rd fight. Daniel Jones was involved in that second one. Drew Phillips caused the first one in a little scuffle with Amon-Ra St. Brown. These guys are showing some heart. Brian Burns looks awesome off the edge. Absolutely dominating. The best offensive line in all of the NFL. Going to be talking about that and a lot more on One Giant Step. Going to be recording that tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night with Sean Morash. Probably be released Wednesday morning, if not tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that. That will be tweeted, posted, whatever you want to call it. Screw Elon Musk for switching the name. On my Twitter, on my X, at Bryce Gelman, down below. Please, if you got some time, if you want to listen to one of the best Giants podcasts out there with Sean and myself, then go ahead, tune in. You won't regret it. All right, that'll do it for this live stream. I'm Bryce Gelman. Talk to you all later in the week. Let's go Yankees.